Hello all and welcome to today's maths lesson where the learning objective is to know how to apply the power to a power rule to algebraic terms. This is carrying on from our work on laws of indices. So on the board are 6 questions, the starter questions. This is your retrieval practice. Please pause the video here and work through those 6 questions for 10 minutes. We'll go through the answers afterwards. Please pause the video here. And here are your 6 answers to the starter. Please mark in green pen and give yourself a score out of 6. If you made any mistakes, be sure to put the correct answer in instead. Okay, so for the first example, the first I do and we do pair. And we've got a question here. It says 2y cubed, and that's in a bracket, squared. Now, we have to approach this differently to our previously seen examples because we've got brackets here and this 2y cubed is all raised to the power of 2. So this is essentially 2y cubed times 2y cubed. So the rule for this is, because we're squaring all of this and we've got a 2y rather than just a singular number here, we have to square the 2 and then raise y to the power 3 to the power of 2, and we do that by multiplying these two powers. So 2 to the power of 2 equals 4, y cubed to the power of 2, well, remember from our last lesson where we multiply the indices in examples like this, so y cubed to the power of 2 is equal to y to the power of 3 times 2, which equals y to the power 6. So then we've got 4y to the power of 6. So we apply the power to the first number and we also apply the power to this by multiplying the two indices together. Please copy the I do down and then try the we do for yourselves. If you didn't quite follow the explanation, use the I do to help you through the we do. We'll go through the answer in a moment. Okay, so for the we do, again we've got 3y squared all to the power of 3. We've got brackets around this and this is all raised to the power of 3. So we need to apply that power to the 3 and also the y squared. So 3 to the power of 3, or 3 cubed, gives me 27. Y squared to the power of 3 gives me y to the power of 2 times 3, which is y to the power 6. So my final answer is 27y to the power of 6. Please mark that in green pen, and if you made any errors, it's fine. Just make sure you put down the right solution for me. We'll go through another example in a moment. Okay, so example 2, we've got 3y to the power of 4. Now, this example looks different because we don't have an indice, or we haven't written a number for the indice after y. But we have to imagine this is y to the power of 1, okay? So from there, it's the same process. We need to apply this 4, this power of 4, to the 3, and we also need to apply it to the y to the power of 1. So 3 to the power of 4 gives me 81, and y to the power of 1 raised to the power of 4 is equal to y to the power of 1 times 4, which equals y to the power of 4. So we have 81y to the power of 4. Remember that when we have this singular y, it's essentially a power 1, or when we have a singular x, it's essentially a power 1. That's something important to remember. So please copy down that I do, and then try the we do for yourselves. Pause the video here so you can try that out now. And finally for the we do, 3 to the power of 3, remember we applied this power of 3 to the 3 and the y, so 3 raised to the power of 3 gives me 27, y to the power 1 raised to the power 3 gives me y to the power 3. So my answer is 27y to the power of 3, or 27y cubed. Okay, so moving on to a slightly different example and a slightly harder looking example here. We have 10yx to the power 5, all raised to the power of 4. And this may look harder, but it's still just a process that we have to follow. It's not too difficult. We have to apply this power of 4 to the 10 to the y, remembering that when this y is on its own, it's essentially a power of 1, and this x to the power of 5 as well. So first, raise the 10 to the power of 4. 10 to the power of 4, 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, that equals 10,000. Y to the power of 4, well, remember that's basically a y to the power of 1 raised to the power of 4, which gives me y to the power of 1 times 4, y to the power of 4. And then x to the power of 5 raised to the power of 4 gives me x to the power of 5 times 4, which is x to the power of 20. So our final answer is going to be 10,000 y to the power of 4 x to the power of 20. Copy that one down and then try the we do for yourselves. Pause the video here so you can try that now. Okay, so for the we do, 10zx to the power 5, all raised to the power 3. Remember that everything in this bracket needs to be applied, have the power of 3 applied to it. So 10 to the power 3 gives me 1,000, z to the power 3 gives me z to the power 3, and x to the power 5 raised to the power 3 gives me x to the power 15. So it's 1,000 z to the power 3, x to the power of 15. Really well done if you got that right on your own. That's quite a tough question, so really well done if you did get that right. Right, and the final example, here we have 10y to the power 11, x to the power 5, all raised to the power of 3. And this is almost exactly the same as our last I do and we do, except this time we have y to the power of 11 rather than y to the power 1. But that does not really change our method at all. We still have to raise everything in this bracket to this outside power, which in this case is 3. So 10 to the power 3 gives me 1,000. Y to the power 11 raised to the power 3 gives me y to the power of 33. X to the power 5 raised to the power 3 gives me x to the power 15. So it's 1,000 y to the power 33 x to the power 15. Please copy that down and then try the last we do before we move on to some independent practice. So pause the video here while you try that out. Okay, so the last we do, and probably the most difficult one yet, 10 to the power 6 gives me a million. Y to the power 11 raised to the power 6 gives me y to the power 66. X to the power 5 raised to the power 6 gives me x to the power 30. So in total, this answer here, 10y11 x to the power 5, all raised to the power 6, gives me a million y to the power 66 x to the power 30. If you got that right by yourself, you are doing really, really well. That's a tough question there. We're going to move on to some independent practice now, so please be ready to complete some questions on your own. So, shown on the board are 9 questions right here, and they are similar to the examples we've just been through. So pause the video here for 10 to 15 minutes or more if necessary, and work through those 9 questions. If you're struggling, use the examples you've written down in your books to help you through. So pause the video here. And on the board are your answers. So please mark in green pen and give yourself a score out of 9. Try and spot any mistakes if you did make any. Okay, so moving on to a slightly different section of the lesson. This time the learn objective is to know how to raise a fraction to a power. So here in the first I do and we do, we have 2 fractions and they're raised to a power. So read through the success criteria. Here are the steps. Apply the power to the top number, the numerator. Apply the power to the bottom number, the denominator, and then simplify if possible. So 3/7 to the power of 3, really simple. We just do 3 to the power of 3 and 7 to the power of 3, and then calculate. So 3 to the power 3 equals 27, 7 to the power 3 equals 343. It is literally just that simple, applying the power to both the numerator, the top number, and the denominator, the bottom number. Please copy that example down and then try the we do as well. So for the we do, 4 over 5 to the power of 3, and again, really simple, just apply this power outside the bracket to both the top number, the numerator, and the bottom number, the denominator. So 4 to the power 3 goes on the top, 5 to the power 3 goes on the bottom. So 4 to the power 3 equals 64, 5 to the power 3 equals 125. Then just check if you can simplify this. And no, we can't. So that's our answer. Really well done if you got that right by yourself. So for our next example, we've got 1 over 7, so a seventh here, to the power of 3. And again, we apply this power to both numbers. So on the top, we have 1 raised to the power 3, and on the bottom, we have 7 raised to the power 3. And then we just calculate. So 1 to the power 3 equals 1, 7 to the power 3 equals 343. Please copy that down and then go on to the we do and try that yourselves. Pause the video here and we'll go through the answer in a moment. So for the next one, a fifth to the power of 3, well, apply the power 3 to the 1 and the 5 and then calculate both. 1 to the power 3 equals 1, 5 to the power 3 equals 125. Right, final example of today's lesson. We've got in a bracket here a mixed number, and that's all raised to the power 2. So the important thing here is to convert this mixed number into an improper fraction, which means a top-heavy fraction. So 1 and 1/7, well, think about how many sevenths are in one whole. There are 7 sevenths in one whole, and then we have a spare 1/7. So in total, here we have 8 sevenths. So that's what I've done first. I've converted it to 8 over 7, 8 sevenths. And that's all raised to a power 2. And then we just apply this power 2 to both numbers, both the 8 and the 7. So 8 to the power 2 and 7 to the power 2. 8 to the power 2 equals 64. 7 to the power 2 equals 49. So my fraction becomes 64 over 49. Now just check that that can't simplify, which it can't, so that is our final answer. Please copy that down and then do the we do. Pause the video here so you can try that out now. Okay, so for the we do, 1 and 2/5 all raised to the power 2. So again, convert this in a mixed number to an improper fraction. So in one whole, how many fifths are there? Well, there are 5 fifths in one whole. Then we've got a spare 2/5. So in total here, we have 7 fifths. Then we're just going to apply our power 2 to both these numbers. So 7 to the power 2 equals 49, and 5 to the power 2 equals 25. So give yourself a big tick and green pen if you got that right, because that is really good if you can get that right. Really well done. Be ready for some independent practice questions now to end the lesson. Okay, so on the board are 9 questions for you to try. They are all fractions raised to a power. So pause the video here for 10-15 minutes, more if needed, and work through those 9 questions. Pause the video now and we'll go through the answers afterwards. And here are your 9 answers. So mark those all in green pen, please. Really well done today. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again soon. Well done. Goodbye.